We're going to take a look at a blitz game that I played today. I was white. I opened with d4. The game went into a queen's gambit, and my opponent played the rare move bishop to f5 in this position, and this is known as the Baltic Defense. I took the pawn on d5, and the point of black's play is to not recapture with the queen and lose a tempo to this knight move. But instead, what my opponent did was first take the knight on b1, and if I were to recapture immediately, then the queen would take on d5, and there's no knight to harass the queen. So that's the point of Baltic's defense. Turns out, however, in this position, there is another move that's useful for white to make before recapturing the bishop. So the game continued with queen a4 check. Okay, and the point of this move is after the usual blocking move c6, then white recaptures the bishop and black recaptures the pawn. And this is the same position that would have arisen if white had captured the bishop immediately, except there's this queen on a4 and this pawn on c6. So white argues here there's two benefits to this, inserting this move queen to a4. One benefit is the pawn on c6 now blocks the natural development of the knight. Another benefit is this queen is already guarding the a2 pawn, which the black queen is attacking. So that's the reason for that move queen to a4. Okay, but this isn't how the game went. My opponent didn't block this check with c6. He blocked it with his queen, a pretty rare move, and I think it's inferior. I think the move c6 is better. Play continued, queen takes queen, knight takes queen. Then I took the bishop back, and black plays correctly, knight from g to f6, attacking the d5 pawn. So this is how black is going to recover the pawn. There's no way for white to guard it. Can't guard it with e4, you'll lose the e4 pawn. Okay, so I decided to play knight to f3. I want to hold this pawn on e2 in reserve because I'm anticipating this knight capturing, and I want to push it 2 squares to e4 after he does. So I play knight f3, black captures on d5, and then I expand in the center. And I think here white already has a very strong game, a good opening advantage, and that's why I don't believe the move queen to d7 in the opening is as good as the move c6 to block that check from the queen on a4. Okay, the game went knight on the 5th rank to b6, bishop d3 developing, protecting e4, getting ready to castle. I'm not sure about that move h6, the purpose of it. I castled. Black castles long. Okay, so I play bishop f4 to hit this pawn in front of the castled king. I plan to put a rook on c1 and start attacking. Okay, my opponent played f6. Okay, now he's got a lot of weak light squares over here with the moves h6 and f6. But my opponent's preparing the move e5, trying to block out this strong bishop. It's a good idea. Okay, so I played rook from b to c1. So I've got a threat now, a winning threat. Rook takes c7 check, or bishop takes c7. So my opponent plays a big mistake, c6. Okay, it's a blunder. It loses the game. Okay, maybe you want to pause the video and find white's checkmate in 2. Okay, this is the checkmate that I did not see in the game, I'm ashamed to say. Rook takes c6 check, forces b takes c6, and then bishop to a6 is mate. This particular mating pattern actually has a name. It's called Boden's checkmate, B-O-D-E-N, where you've got one bishop delivering the check, another bishop's path is crossing that, and two of black's pieces are blocking in the escape of the king. So that's a very famous pattern that I had known about, and I've correctly identified it in tactical puzzles, but it eluded me during my blitz game. So I'm going to try to do better. I think the clue that I should be looking for such a move is this bishop raking across these two escape squares with the two black pieces blocking the king on the other side. When you see something like that, watch out for this Boden's mate. Sometimes even a queen sacrifices itself for this pawn to lure that pawn off so the checkmate comes. In this case, it's a rook that does the sacrificing. Anyway, I still have a strong position. I played d5 trying to pry open the c file here, and my opponent pushes the pawn to keep the file closed. I played b4 to try to pry open the file again. My opponent inserted this move g5, attacking my bishop. I've got plenty of time. I can retreat the bishop and continue my attack down the c file. Okay, then comes the move g4, hitting my knight. Well, my knight is not essential in my attack. My bishop and rook are, so I ignore that threat, capture this pawn, and threaten his knight. Okay, and if he moves the knight, I can push this pawn further and then open up the c file. Okay, but my opponent didn't move his knight, didn't capture my knight, made a big blunder again. Knight takes c5. Okay, so he's willingly just opening up the c file and sacking his knight. Perhaps he thought he was going to take my knight back soon, but I get his knight with check. The only legal move here is king to d7, and there's something you can learn in this position as well. When you're attacking the king, look for its escape squares, the paths to freedom. Here this king is threatening to go this way and start running away. So try to cover the escape squares, the squares where black wants to run to. So you're going to try to stop black from getting there. So you look around and you find this move, bishop to b5, and the bonus is it's actually checkmate. Okay, there's no way to get out of check. All right, thanks for watching this game.